If we tell people that if you are found with a drug, you just go home, what information are we selling to people?
How dangerous is a drug?
Very,
that's the problem.
I think
How dangerous?
because weed has never killed people, which I agree, because it's impossible to overdose with weed.
It's impossible.
However,
Prompt number 1. The war on cannabis is effectively a war against the lower class designed to marginalize the poor. I'm going to repeat it again. The war on cannabis is effectively a war against the lower class designed to marginalize the poor. If you agree with that statement, please step forward.
Yeah, I want to agree and disagree, but let me tell you why I'm going to agree. Okay, the first thing is that when we have these laws that govern us in terms of cannabis, when it comes to the poor, they get more messed up with the guys who have money. You know, we're Kenyans, we understand cops, we bribe them and everything. When you're easy bribe, anawekwa ndani, then he's giving a statement, like sentence of 10 years. Yeah, amechukua tu like 2 J's, he just has, you know, something small that you should not even, you should be there for a weekend out. But the problem is, the people who need to get the 10-year sentence are traffickers. And we see them get caught on news. Those are the ones who deserve because they are supplying an illegal drug because it's illegal by law. But when Meshikwa is using it personally, he's not trying to, you know, give other people the weed. He's using it for personal reasons. So they do not need that type of sentence. So Chinyamaji, it is against the poor.
So in your world, there is an imbalance there.
There is an imbalance.
A big imbalance.
A very big imbalance.
Right.
And the problem is, the law don't even know what they're dealing with. Yeah, they don't even know weed. Waita bangi. Alafu, everyone has seen that video of the guy, the guy was holding a cookie and he was holding weed. He doesn't even know what it is. So they just decide, this one deserves. And they look at the person and like, this one looks like a thief, a bad person in the community. He deserves a 10-year sentence. But he's not looking deep inside. Is he using it for personal reasons or not? That's another thing we need to talk about here.
All right. Zenora?
I agree because, first, I'd love to point out that the English language is a very fascinating language because every word a word can change the meaning of an entire sentence or the intention which the sentence was set for. So with this prompt that says, the war on cannabis is effectively a war against the lower class designed to marginalize the poor. The word effectively doesn't mean their intention was to marginalize the poor, but the reality of what that law is doing. And the war they are talking about, it's a metaphoric war. It's the civic education, how it's being given out to weed smokers. It is how the people in charge, like the police, are handling weed smokers. These are our battlefields, not like a real battle that they said, let's make weed illegal so that we can marginalize the poor. No, but you made weed illegal. There's something in French that's called déclassiste. I'm forgetting that word, but it means when you have less wealth, you suffer more, you know. And intentionality cannot defeat in reality. So the law might have been there to stop people from smoking weed, but if that law is actually it's not proportional for the rich and the poor, then it doesn't serve what it's meant to serve. It's supposed to be fair. Not one person can be jailed for 10 years and another one can just pay and not have any consequences.
So there is also an imbalance with you?
Very.
All right, let me have disagreeers join us. All right, why do you guys disagree?
Okay. For me, I disagree with how the statement has been phrased. I agree with the panelists in terms of, yes, the war on cannabis is a systemic issue in terms of the failure, in terms of how people are treated, especially small holders. For real, mtu akipatikana na like small possession amounts, this is not a person who should go to jail. That part I agree with. However, when we even look at how the war on cannabis began, how it started, it was more of a racial issue, moral issue, and a social issue. When we look at the 1937 one, when it started with Harry Anslinger, they were looking at race, they were looking at how black and Mexicans were taking their jobs. They were saying how it's leading to violence. They had a whole film called Reefers, where they were making propaganda and saying how it is terrible, but they were exaggerating the efforts. When we look at the 1994 Narcotics and Psychotropic Act, the one that was now in Kenya, they were looking in terms of how they can restrict recreational cannabis. Now, my issue with how that statement has been phrased, and I disagree with Zenora, when we say something is effectively designed to do something, it means that that particular thing has been designed to achieve a specific goal. If we effectively design this stage for it to make sure that it is raised, we have made sure that it is designed so that the making of it is for that purpose. So the war on cannabis was a war in terms of race, morality, and nowadays it is actually a war now in terms of health, because we are looking at the health of people. The issue now it comes when systemic governance. How are the cops now applying the law? They're applying the law wrongly. Because now if you look at the actual law, it says trafficking is wrong and all that extra stuff. So my proposition in terms of the part that we are agreeing that people who are smallholders should not go to jail, weed should be decriminalized for small weed holders. They can get things like rehab, therapy, now equal more of a medical perspective. But the war on cannabis they didn't sit down and say, we are going to make poor people suffer. It's just how people are applying the law in terms of time, and this you will expect it in societies that are unequal. Wase when you're do wase wamesota. So that's how I disagree. Thank you.
All right. It's okay, you can clap. It's a lot. But you guys are gonna battle it out on the language there, because I know that's happening. Chebosi, why do you disagree?
I'm going to take issue with the entire statement and allow me to quote several sources. I'm going to start internationally, then come to the local scene. First off, I note from I think it's the National Education Center in the United States, it notes that in the research that was conducted around 2020 to 2022, it noted that most marijuana users fall within racially impoverished groups. These racially impoverished groups would include people such as the Black Americans and the Mexicans, a bit of the Asians and whatnot. However, when we look a bit deeper, we note that the people who were noted to be using marijuana as a drug recreationally were people who are considered as middle class. Marijuana in itself, together with alcohol, was seen as a drug that is for the middle class due to its cost effect. Now, coming in locally, I believe there is a university paper that was published the other day, and it came to show the various groups of people who use marijuana. Off the top of my head, allow me to quote, there was James, who was a hotel manager. There was Mwangi, I think he was just mtu wa mkono. There was a doctor, there were hoteliers, there's even an NGO worker. What does this come to show? It shows that the use of marijuana is disproportionate within all the classes. When we sit down and we say that the war against marijuana is a war against the disenfranchised, we note that most of these people, if you're found using marijuana, you're going to be put inside the cell. You're going to be taken to court, you're going to be tried under the Narcotics and Anti-Psychotics Act, and you're going to get your sentence. Now, what people don't understand is the fact that this sentence is usually proportionate to what has been found. Typically, it is supposed to go, and the wording on the act is up to 10 years. So that's why when someone is going to be found with 2 blunts, he can be given a 10,000 shilling fine or a 6-month sentence. When you go somewhere else and you're found with maybe 7 blunts, And in that area, it is noted that the use of marijuana is slightly higher. People usually look at it, the judicial officer is going to look at it and they're going to say, because we want to quote unquote set an example, we're going to give you a harsher sentence. That's why we're going to give you something akin to 5 years. We're going to give you.
So that means that someone who's found in, like, say, a place like, random
Kibera.
example, like Juja, they're going to get more years.
No, this is actually quite interesting. And let me give this example. I was in Kibera law courts for my judicial attachment, and I noted that if you're found with 2 blunts, you're going to get a 6-month sentence or a 10,000 shillings fine. So what does that mean? It means you're even better off accepting that, yes, I was found with the blunts. Please give me my fine. I pay my 10,000 shillings fine. I walk out of court and I'm a free man, quote unquote, later in the day. However, in a different place, say, give me, for example, Homa Bay. Right now I'm spitballing, but Homa Bay or Kisii, you're found with 2 blunts. The judicial officer over there may want to make an example and say that because marijuana is a very serious problem, we are going to give you the harshest sentence. The act itself describes the harshest sentence of up to 10 years. And that's why some people will get 10 years and some people will get 6 months. This in itself shows that it is not a war on the disenfranchised. It is a war on people found using marijuana.
Okay, Zanora, is this a case of intention and outcome, where the intention might be good, but then the outcome that we see is that it actually just, goes against the, because imagine someone who cannot make the 10,000 shillings, they get to go for 6 months?
Actually, that's what I'm saying. And before I say what I want to say, the word I was looking for was de facto classist. When a law is heavier on you because you don't have wealth or you have less wealth, yeah? And Ivy, I love what you said about designed to. But that's the thing, there's a difference between creating and designing. Okay, we can create a law that says illegality, we want to make this illegal so that it reduces harm, but the people who are meant to do it, how do they design? Okay, this was created to be a bar, but people came and designed it to be a place where people are hosting debates. That's the difference between creating and designing. So the law was created for the benefit, but the designing is not for the benefit of the poor people. So that's what the statement is trying to say. The people who have designed the law are not being fair to the poor people, Yeah.
Now, the issue is, is the issue the law itself, or is the issue how people are taking the law in terms of systemic governance? That's the thing. Because if it's in the law, weed is illegal. If you're found with weed, you're 6 months, 10 years, whatever. But now the people who capture you, now the cops, you are part of the governance. Now that the failure on the cop side, because cop ata anaweza kakuplant na weed, cop anakupata na weed, anasema alikupata na an unusual amount. So it's not really per se the law itself. Ni kama, for example, tukiendanga maandamano, for example, in the law, the cops are supposed to use less bad force.
Proportional force.
Guys, listen to our law. Here, and then they are not supposed to kill us. But now, what do the cops do? The cops kill us. Now, is that the issue the law itself, how the law was designed to protect people, or is the issue the systemic governance and law enforcement? That's the problem. Okay. And now, you're the difference between designing and creating. If I design something, I am making it with the intention of it achieving a specific goal. When it comes to history, when it comes to how cannabis was even put illegal at first, and when it comes to the concerns that the government and the society has, it was not designed to make poor people suffer. The poor people suffering is because of a failure when it comes to law enforcement. Ni cops wame fail. When it comes to the government in terms of how they put people in jail, now that's the failure part.
Yeah.
And me, when it comes to people going like to jail. Personally, I don't even believe people who are small weed holders should go to jail at all. This is something that should be treated as a health issue. They be diverted to us. Either mandatory rehab,
Wait,
mandatory
diverted to...
mental health
Why?
practitioners.
But
instead
they're okay.
of going to jail, why would they go to jail? It should be treated as a health issue
See,
instead
they
of
should
a
be taken
I
home.
think
or
the issue we have here is
They
still
should
the
what?
law. The law is the issue. Because if you cannot implement the same law in every single county,
Yes, Miki tunasema
Why?
ni mbona msiende jail for 2 blunts instead of
Yeah,
diverted to
we have a law that
therapy
you said,
or rehab. That's
okay,
what I
either
mean.
you get your 6 months, or you get the 10,000 bail, or you get 10 years. Why isn't the law the same in every single place?
The law
Our lawyer,
provides
he's a lawyer.
for proportionality.
Fair enough.
And that
yeah.
is the case.
Yeah.
Proportionality means, and this is what we always talk about equality rather. Proportionality means if I find you with 2 blunts and I give you 6 months, then next I give you a fine of 10,000 shillings. Then next week I find you with 2 blunts and I give you another fine of 10,000 shillings. What does that say? It states that the law is, for lack of better words, it is allowing you to get away with things. And therefore, I will find you today, I'll give you your 6 months and 10,000. I will find you next week, and I will give you your 10 years.
That's my perspective.
Like you
It should
people
be
do
treated
community
as
service.
a health
Yeah.
issue. And for repeat offenders, I do agree. Some will definitely get more jail time, and some can even get community service. If we tell people that if you are found with a drug, you just go home, what information are we selling to people?
How dangerous is the drug?
Very, I mean.
That's the problem.
I think what
How
wanasemanga,
dangerous?
because weed has never killed people, which I agree, because it's impossible to overdose with weed.
It's impossible.
However, memory, short-term memory loss, we are looking at psychosis, we are looking at an issue in brain development for people who are under 25, we are looking at bronchitis, we are looking at addiction, we are looking at withdrawal symptoms. I can go on and on.
So when we compare to other drugs, how bad is
We don't want
Okay, let's
to...
compare alcohol and cocaine. Does it
Alcohol
mean
is
alcohol
way
is
worse.
fine?
All right.
Shouldn't
People
people
kills people every day.
I think that is where we go wrong. We don't necessarily want to trade a slave owner for a slave driver. Let us tackle these issues one at the other. It's not fair to compare weed and alcohol. For lack of better words, we all know which one is worse. But as a regard of
Which one is worse?
perspective,
No.
Alcohol is worse.
Alcohol is way
scientific.
worse.
Alcohol is worse.
Wait, Kuni, our technical guys, Kuni, you guys are anti-legalization because you guys don't want to light us. What's going on? You guys don't want to light us?
That's clean.
Oh, yeah. All right. I want us to move on to the next prompt. Yes, reset, guys. Hiya. All right. To our second prompt. The government of Kenya and its citizens are currently incapable of handling legal marijuana. I'm going to repeat it again. The government of Kenya and its citizens are currently incapable of handling legal marijuana. If you agree with that statement, please do step forward. Come out. How are you agreeing with this one? Have a seat, guys. How are you agreeing with this one?
I'm agreeing because cannabis is deeper than people think. There's a lot of things to know about the plant, and there's a lot of stigma involved, and the current government system just don't know about it. We're dealing with an older generation. Currently, I'm a Gen Z. We're millennials and then baby boomers. I mean, the people who are in charge of the country right now just don't understand the plant. And they don't even want to, because they've been raised knowing this thing is bad, you'll be a madman, I don't know what, mgoroki, Kikuyu. They say that. The stigma is heavy. The stigma is still there even in my parents, who've seen me being a lecturer, and they still have the stigma. It's not good. So we need a new people who know what they're dealing with. Guys who have been raised knowing this thing was not bad. Okay? It's an injustice.
You're saying Masgo does not understand
They don't.
More than 60%. Ebu imagine, more than half of the alcohol in the country is illicit and is fake. When it comes to cigarettes, the BAT, British American Tobacco of Kenya, they said 47% of cigarettes currently in the country are illicit. Yani 1 in every 2 is illicit. They can't even handle the already legal drugs that are happening. How exactly will they handle another addition of an already illegal drug? When it comes to pharmacies, the Kenyan Poisons and Pharmaceutical Board, Kenyan something, they were saying that they were actually cracking down illegal pharmacies. Imagine pharmacies themselves illegal, wase wenye wanauza kwa pharmacies, au wenyewe hawako qualified. And also an article by Business Daily, it said medicine, personal care products were among the most counterfeited goods. Kama tuwezi handle vitu legal, sahi, it will be a disaster, hoping and assuming that the government can handle it. When it comes to the Kenyan citizens themselves, we're already looking at the effects of the already legalized drugs. Granted, people become addicts not by choice because of the problems that they're already facing. The already legal drugs are harming Kenyans insanely. We're having thousands die every single year. When it comes to cigarettes, same thing. When it comes to the people who are even working in the pharmacies, them themselves, they are corrupt. If those citizens can't also be trusted to be able to assist people when it now comes to medical weed, it is basing this on hope and theory that citizens can actually be able to handle it. If you want to know how something will happen, you look at the pattern. Kama vitu already zimekuwa zikifail, it will not succeed the next time. Yeah.
All right. Hey.
I'll start by saying this. I was today years old when I heard that cannabis, in regards to hemp, was first made, there was a major push for cannabis to be planted by Charlemagne. That was the great King Charles. I was today years old when I heard that cannabis was being pushed by the American founding fathers. What does this show? It shows that if people have the proper information, if people know why cannabis was used during those times and right now, we could be somewhere. The biggest problem is the fact that, and I'm going to agree with Mbugua, nobody knows. When we talk about legalization, the first thing that gets onto someone's mind is, how am I going to smoke? I am going to smoke so many blunts, and that is the wrong thing. When you talk about legalization, the first thing that comes to government is not how much can we make in taxes. It's all these people are going to run mad. As Mbugua said, this government and whatever we're doing is being run by people who, for lack of better words, they don't understand and they don't know. It's no fault of their own. It is first in our place that we need to provide proper education for the citizens. Citizens need to know that cannabis is more than just a plant that you need to smoke. Citizens need to know that you can use it for very many other things. Smoking should be the last thing on people's mind. Cannabis can be used to treat things such as Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, etc. After that, the government needs to put the various policies in place. We need to know if we are exporting this cannabis, who are we exporting to? What value addition are we creating? What safeguards are we doing to protect our farmers? Ivy has raised a very, very important point in the government's failure to put in place safeguards. I will go further to say, don't look at alcohol, don't look at drugs. Look at how many coffee farmers make a return on profit. Look at how many fisheries are able to export their fish from Lake Victoria all the way to Europe. That is minus the EU. Look at how many people are able to export tea to other places. Most of the people who are doing this work are actually foreigners. Think of the biggest tea manufacturer, that Ketepa, for example. Ketepa is not run by black people, not run by Kenyans. It's run by some Brits. So if we're going to put marijuana in place, are we guaranteed that it will not just be taken up by some American or some Dutch or some German person to come in and do all the exporting for us while leaving it to us just to smoke and get zooted? And after that, we only know its benefit as gets me high. Thank you.
The government is incapable of handling legal marijuana. Tukianza na government, I don't think the government is incapable. I think the government is actively making a choice to, it's benefiting them when marijuana is illegal. Because I didn't think this was news, but the government is handling marijuana as we speak, as it has always been. Before kufikisha the big bosses, like I was telling you, I think, kwa Madhe Ngara, nani alikuwa namprotect? Sini the police. They were benefiting from that. When weed is illegal, pesa ni easy ya kuwafikia, inakuja direct kwa mfuko yako, hakuna story mingi, hakuna accountability, pesa ni yako. But when it's legal, then the citizens and everyone has a right to ask, this produces 10 million per month. Where is the 10 million? Where has it gone? The money has to be tracked. So it's not incapability, it's the fear of accountability. That's what's up. A lot of police, I just need to mention this. I have been in a place where a lot of weed is being sold. The biggest buyers, watch out the bribes, the biggest buyers are police officers. And when you go to slums, the biggest smokers are police officers, and kuna mahali majengo, kama mnajua mahali kunaitwa majengo, it's a slum area. There is a guy who has created like a shed of his own, a whole homestead where they're selling marijuana, and he has never been caught up to date because he pays who? The police. So they are not incapable, they are choosing to make it illegal so that pesa zinakuja direct, ulizi hiyo pesa imeenda wapi, umefanyia nini, umeona, hakuna hizo maswali zote, you know. And the thing you said before, research has been done, most of the users of marijuana, middle class and also it was not targeting them. Here's the thing, when census is being done, yeah, and they say there is approximately 4 million people in Kenya. See, that's what's being said. And people will say, yes, there are 4 million people in Kenya. But are there really? Tanzania, nyanyangu alikuwa naishi island fulani huko, hata ajui census nini. Niambia tamshai kuja kuhisabia huku, wajawai. So, Tanzania tukiambiwa kuna watu 43 million, there is a possibility of being 100,000 somewhere that are completely unaccounted for. But this one will be taken for a fact. They'll be like, yes, these are the people that are in Tanzania. And when you say approximately, you could say approximately 50,000 more. But there are people, indigenous people wenye hawafikiwagwi, but tumekuwa tukihesabu watu bila wao, na tunasema hiyo ndio hesabu dunia iko naye. But is that the reality? You know, you are a lawyer, right? So it's easy for you to go with what's in the book, but I'm trying to get you to see what's in reality. Unaweza ambiwa Kenya is a democratic country, but is it really? Kura zimeibiwa mara ngapi? Is it really? They say Africa watu wanaishi kwa huts, watu Afrika hakuna maji. Si pale tumekunywa maji mpaka tumeacha. Yeah.
Nuquel, I can confirm tumekunywa maji.
I mean it, Moses. And for the people, hii kwanza tando inanikasirisha sana, ati the people are incapable of handling marijuana. Let me tell you something. It's easier for people to act responsible when the law treats them as adults, not as criminals. Ukianza monitor watu, there's liquor in this place, but I'm sure there are some people who live here without drinking. Not because kuna mtu amewakataza, ni juu wao wenyewe wanajua wataki. Mimi sahi unaweza niambia weed is bad, but if I want to, I will go have it. You are telling me about kwa Mwendoaz where it's don't go there. But you know what translated in my head? Lazima nikajione.
It's a personal decision.
That was for just social experiment. Muone vile akili za watu.
Interrupt kiasi zenora. Haya, hapo kwanza especially hapo kwa citizens. I think citizens, it's not just people who want to smoke recreationally. Tukiangalia citizens, we're also looking at children, old people, sick people, vulnerable people who have mental health issues. We have to look at how everybody will be affected when weed is legalized.
But there are laws in place. There's a reason why you cannot drink if you're 18 and below.
Nikikuja kwa, acha tuangalie kitu. I will still go back to how alcohol is actually used. Yes, kuna watu watakunywa, hata kuna watu their whole lives watakunywa recreationally na hakuna kitu itawafanikia. Granted. However, we can't be basing laws or be basing how the society will work on people who will only just not be affected. We have to look at how people will also be affected. Ikikuja kwa government, I agree. Government pia inakaanga chini na inasema hatutajenga barabara, hakuna kitu tutafanya. That is refusal, agree. But hiyo pattern ya refusal, what has it shown? Incapability. Hata tusiangalie drugs kwanza. There was an issue of fake fertilizers and fake seeds coming into the country. That is literally sabotage of a country. Because kama unaleta fake seeds enye watu watakula, if you attack the food of an economy, you have attacked a whole country. Now, food hatuwezi hata manage, because hizi hata zinakuja kwa border. We are looking at Uganda, tunaangalia South Sudan. It can't even be handled itself. Tukiangalia hata the black market ya weed yenye ina happen sahi. Yes, cops, biggest buyers, biggest protectors, and that's why the black market is still growing. Na hata tukilegalize weed, the black market will still exist. Hakuna country actually legalize weed na black market ikatoka, they coexist. Now my thing is, hata kwa government vile inafaa provide beds. We don't even have enough beds in hospitals. We don't even have enough medicines. We have less than 200 psychiatrists in the whole country to manage 50 million people. We have to look at how is the system of Kenya at the moment. If we introduce a psychoactive drug to the country, how will it actually be handled? If we say, hopefully now we introduce weed and we hope that the government can be able to handle it. It won't happen because we are basing it on hope and theory. If you want to know how something will work, you look at the pattern. Me personally, siwezi kakwambia one proper solid thing that neza sema. Hii sector, tuseme kama sector ya health, loto wanakuanga CS sector health, education, security, mi siwezi sema the government 100% has done well. However, kama wako na two small limitations that benefit the society, we jump on that and we say this is doing well. Pattern-wise, failure in terms of the citizens and in terms of the government. Hoping that weed will be taken well.
If the government wants, they can.
Yes.
They will bring experts, doctors.
Tell me one
scientists.
thing that the government
Trust
has
me,
wanted
I've been to
do
South
and has
Africa.
worked.
If they have a body there called SAFRA, an
and
agency
that's
that
basing
runs.
on hope and
It's not
theory.
hope.
It is hope.
No.
You're hoping
If
that
the
the government will be
wants-
nice.
If the government wants, they can,
yes,
and they
that
will.
is basing
And
it on
they will.
hope.
Ivy, I
and
have
theory.
an answer
They can
for
bring
you.
experts.
Kitu
The government
government
has money.
wamefanya
They can do
ikawak
it.
ni affordable houses.
They're just earning too much
And
from
how
the
is it
illegality.
going
Let me-
so
no,
far?
no, no,
So wamezimaliza haraka sana by the affordable houses
Yes,
zimeisha juu
and
Hawataki
and how is
leadership.
it actually going so far? The houses look terrible. People have not moved in. Seta kuna ingine ili collapse. Was it this year or last year? It's not going good.
ili collapse in 2 weeks ikaanza kujengwa tena because wanataka
Yeah.
kuijenga. They are not
Yes.
incapable, they are unwilling.
But
They're
how
unwilling.
and how
Thank
is it
you.
inakaaje?
Unwilling to.
Mbugwa,
Yeah,
They
and,
can.
and
Wait,
that's
if
the thing,
Uganda
you're
is already
basing it
doing
on
it.
theory.
Most of
Okay,
Uganda
okay.
is doing it. They're better with than us.
And
Mbugwa,
that's theoretical.
I have a question for you. I can imagine that when you're writing this book, you had to research on like how other people are handling marijuana. And when it comes to a prompt that says that we're incapable as a people, are we, or is this just an
We're not
excuse for?
incapable.
Yeah.
We just don't want to address the issue.
But why
the
do you think we don't
in the
wanna do
room.
that?
The elephant in the room. We don't want to address it. Okay? We are big enough. We are number one in East Africa. Anyone knows that. If Uganda is already doing it, why can we not? Why?
Why? Why, Chebosi? Why can we not?
Mbugwa, you've said if the government wants to do something, it can. As someone who is in the legal space and I've seen how people are tracked, if the government wants to look for you, it will. As I noted, and as I said, the government is a problem, and I do agree with Ivy. The government is a problem because they do not have a track record of doing. And therefore, putting all this power into people who don't have a track record of performing is going to lead to disaster. Putting all this power into a populace who do not know the uses of marijuana apart from smoking is a disaster.
So we have an issue of knowledge and stigma. That's the problem.
No.
Yeah, it
we
is.
have an issue of,
It's knowledge, trust.
again,
That's why I wrote this book, for that reason.
and that is where we go wrong. We have an issue of incompetence.
And that's what? Lack of knowledge.
I want to agree with
Denial.
you, sawa. Ona tuseme
Denial.
people are incapable of handling marijuana, sawa. Nikubali for 1
Kichwa
minute,
ngumu,
fine.
sorry, say it.
But if the people have proven to be incapable of handling marijuana, the problem is not, or the solution is not stricter rules or governance making it legal or illegal. The problem is the human mind, the human, like, mtu anaamua. Sasa tuseme tu, a lot of humans have decided they won't handle marijuana well, but they are not incapable.
It's a few individuals who are deciding not to.
Yeah,
now,
and
who
also-
are those individuals? That's
So
the
changing the laws won't make a difference.
problem.
Because
So who is
mtu
putting
atafanya
this
kitu
law in
anataka.
place? I want to know them.
If the government wanted to, it would. Ivy, how are we coming?
Patterns don't lie. Patterns don't lie. If we can't trust the government when it even comes to them giving us legit...
Why should we then trust them with deciding that it's illegal? If we cannot trust the government,
So what happens
Because
if we get
why should
another-
we listen to them when they're
Weed
saying
being
it's illegal?
gives us way more advantages than it would when weed is just legal.
So we have an
and sold
election next
everywhere.
year. What changes?
When weed becomes legal,
No. What changes? We have a different government. What changes?
if a different government
Then
comes,
yes. Ruto's government is
the effects of
Google
that
mwingine.
the
What
effects
happens?
that weed causes doesn't change. The public
It
health
means we can
perception
be able to
doesn't
govern
change.
now. Yes.
Listen,
Ivy,
we are
if you said that si government imekuwa imetuonesha history ya it's incapable of many things, yeah? Especially when it comes to controlling people, either muchome ama msichome, si ndio? Like you smoke or you don't smoke. Then that shows that the core issue is it's for us not to try and ban more things or try to put stricter rules on things. It's for us to realize that you cannot control a human autonomy, especially things that somebody is taking for either their own leisure or whatever reason. Ndio maana kumekuwa na inconsistency,
decision.
ndio maana incapability imekuwa kwa sababu the government is trying to control people, not to guide them. Kazi ya government si kusema msichome, ni kusema wenye mnataka kuchoma, make sure you're in a private place, nini.
Hapana,
Sikuambia usishike hii,
that's not
In
the
South
job of
Africa,
the
you're
government.
allowed to
That's
smoke in your own
not-
house.
That's
Yes.
not the
I
job
wanna-
of
I wanna
the
hear
government.
Ivy.
The
Yeah.
job of the government is to make sure that everybody is okay. That's not their mandate. Their mandate is not, well, ukitaka kuvuta sawa vuta. The government has to look at how is weed affecting the public health as a whole. That's
But
the
they
government's
can't.
job.
Even if you tell us we can die if we smoke, there are people
Exactly.
who will smoke.
Why do you think
But just
tobacco
because
has
there are people
warning?
who will smoke doesn't
It
mean
even
that
show
you should
lungs
make
there.
it accessible.
Wait,
Now I
Nabuta.
want you to
Wait.
realize it's not easy to control people, so let people make their own decisions, but
Exactly.
with regulations. Si ati mtu tu
Same
achome kwa
way.
barabara.
Yeah, legal, but
Aya.
doesn't
Aya.
mean everyone drinks. No.
Wait, let me question. How does Chebosi, because you're in this space, I'm sure you interact with these guys when you guys go to court, you see the people who are being brought there. I look at our country and the way we treat marijuana. Sometimes it feels like people are treated in the same level. It's like you've killed someone. Huyo alipatikana na bangi. Huyo alipatikana na bangi. What is that? What are we doing?
So, for that, I do agree that there is a stigma towards marijuana. I do agree. And I'd actually want to state that that stigma has been drilled to us from a very young age. From a very young age, I think we were all told, you're not supposed to be smoking bang. In fact, from where I'm a Gen Z, and I was told, do not smoke bang, do not drink alcohol, do not smoke cigarettes. And that is why there is a stigma towards people who smoke bang. I'll limit it to that. If you're found smoking bang, people look at you funny and they're like, na huyu anavuta bangi mbona? Si wameambiwa? Yes, as Mbugu has said, bang has a lot of benefits, but there is that stigma from that young age. When you are brought before court, I'll give that example. You're told that you are found smoking bang. What does that connote? It connotes that you're either one, a university student uliekelewa. It connotes that two, you are these poor people wenye mlikuwa mmepitana na makarao amekwambia toa thau, wewe huna, amekuwekelea misokoto mbili, amekwambia enda ulale ndani. Those are the kinds of things that it connotes. Bang has a way of, quote unquote, pointing to the kind of person you are. Now, just in a bit of response and a rejoinder to what the premise was, I'm going to point two instances. The first instance is going to be the opiate wars. That was in China, the first and second opiate wars, when opium was introduced into the country. Opium was previously a drug that was taken in very brief, one by the higher class, and two in very brief ways. Number two, I'm going to point to prohibition. That is the prohibition of alcohol during the 20s in the US. Prohibition basically was a bunch of married women went to government and they said, we don't want our husbands drinking alcohol. Now, Zenora and Mbugua, your argument falls in line with prohibition, where something that was already legal is then illegalized. The problem with that argument is the fact that bang was never legal, at least in our generation. We cannot sit down and say that we have the courtesy of knowing how bang used to be, how we used to smoke weed, how we used to use marijuana, and how we used to tie our ropes with hemp. We do not have that luxury. We are, Ivy and I are equating it to...
Is that a correct statement, though? Do we not base most of what we do with what we've learned from history? Why is this one the specific one?
That's where I'm going. With the opiate wars, it was based on a drug that was used by very few people being made readily available to the masses, and that led to all those epidemics. The emperor at the time had to execute addicts, opiate addicts. Like, you're found smoking a bong and you're hanged the next day. That is what happened, and that is those levels of effects. Before things are going to level up, they're going to get very bad. And that's why we are constantly saying we need to first educate the masses. We need policies in place so that government can put their things in order before we can openly put it out to the public and say, okay, you guys can use Kidogo. Because if we do not, I will equate us to what happened in the opiate wars in China. Look up the first and second opiate wars. That was 1939 and 1950, 1839 and 1852. That is literally what is going to happen.
So I'm seeing that, you guys...
I'm agreeing with him.
Yes, keep it going.
I'm just adding on the history.
Yeah.
Now, cannabis was always legal. It was, when we had the industrialization of the US, a lot of things were happening, okay? New products, new creations. They didn't want cannabis, the hemp, to be legal because it was doing too much, okay? Our ancestors were using it because they didn't have anything else. You have one plant doing everything. Clothes, building this, chairs, everything.
And now let me say something.
No, chill, I'm not done yet. Let me add.
I'm
telling you why. Why it's illegal, why we have stigma.
All right. Let's have Kabo finish and then you're going to go.
Let me just finish, They had to make it illegal, okay? You've got big pharma, medicine. Cannabis was already medicine. We had coffee shops. Cannabis displayed medicine, already legal. Number two, plastic. Hemp was making plastic. Number three, oil. Hemp seed oil. We can fuel our cars with that. That was a big thing. Wasema hii kitu hapana, illegal. They had hanging Anslinger. What he did, he created films, images, America, movies. They created this film called Reefer Madness. Go watch Reefer Madness. They had guys smoking, going crazy, everything, and everyone believed. There's a reason why our parents did believe that thing is bad. They didn't have the internet. They had to go to libraries to read. As we have Google, one time, fact check, one time, Apple, done. These guys didn't have the knowledge. So they lied to us and lied to Africa. Why they lied to Africa? Because, we can produce this thing 3 times a year. Them, once only.
All right,
that's why we have stigma.
I know. Yeah? Wait, I know we're painting this world that's very sunshine and rainbows, and this is where I want you, Ivy, to come in. I think you get to deal with like the worst situation that can happen when people are smoking. Like you get to interact with these people. In our world, we're trying to view it as this magical thing that's just nice. What are you seeing? What are you guys seeing with the people you're dealing with?
Okay, so first, let me say what Moses was saying. In terms of our ancestors used to use it, kitambo, and it was used as medicine. That's a fact. However, the weed that was used 20, 30 years ago and way back is not the weed that we have today. The weed that was used years back, it had very low THC. THC is the psychoactive component in weed that makes you high. And when I say low, it was in the single digits level of low. Nowadays, the weed that we have now is very high when it comes to the THC that it has. I mean, we are hitting 20, 30%.
Which is good.
And it's not. And,
it's very good.
And let me explain why. And we are even having dabs, we are having oils which are hitting 90%. Now, the reason why you don't hear so many cases of psychosis back then, addiction back then, is because now of that difference in THC. That difference, it is what is causing a high level when it comes to people getting psychotic episodes. When people hear psychosis, they expect and assume it's the permanent psychosis that everybody has. Now, there's something called cannabis-induced psychosis. These are temporary psychotic episodes. What is psychosis? Psychosis is an altered state of reality in terms of hallucinations and delusions. I have dealt with cases, now let me get to your point. I have dealt with cases where somebody was high and for real, this person alikuwa amefeel amedissociate anajiona in third person. Like ametoka kwa mwili anajiona on third person, ana agree. That is not just you being high. That is an altered state of reality. That is you being delusional. You are believing something that is not being factual. There are people who unapita mahali unasikia like tuseme a song enye iko na a police siren. For real, you start getting paranoid unadhani ni cops. Like for real. Na si ati like uko rada unakuwa paranoid. You know there's a difference. Juu unaweza kuwa like kama vile msee anaota. You know you can dream and you are aware that you are dreaming. But this person is completely paranoid. And they cannot even want to go back to that situation because it was very scary for them, it was very traumatic for them.
So if we're to remove the THC, do you think he has psychosis?
Still, when we are looking at, there's an article that was done by the Washington State Department of Health, and they were talking about high THC cannabis. They were linking it again to psychosis, addiction, because there's this myth that weed is not addictive, which is a lie, because cannabis use disorder is in the DSM-5. The DSM is a book that us mental health practitioners use when it comes to diagnosing mental health disorders, and it's an addiction called cannabis use disorder. When it comes to high THC products, we are looking at an issue when it comes to worse withdrawal symptoms than people who use cannabis products which have a low THC. If we base the laws today on how things worked way back, it won't hold because way back what they used were different. And nowadays, when we look even at the mental health of Kenyans, if you are looking at somebody who already is sick and they use something that has a high THC level, they are going to get worse. In Kenya, we are looking at 10% of all Kenyans are noted to have mental health issues. 10%, as in that's 5 million.
Is it cannabis-induced or there's something else involved?
Work on an issue. So if something just having a high level of THC, it doesn't mean that it's good. It means it has a high level of a psychoactive substance. Now again, when it comes to how people used to consume the weed, it's my last point. When it comes to how people used to consume the weed, smoking used to happen, but it wasn't as common in terms of people are using it or all people can use. It was mostly used by elders, recreationally, and it was smoked through a water pipe, which they believed it was purifying weed. It was also used in tea, in ointments, and in oil.
But we've been innovating. See, I feel like, have we not found better ways to do it?
There's nothing like innovation. Yes, things can be put to be 1 to 3%. Let's say we can make things to be 1 to 3% THC. But the weed that is used today, the weed that is commonly planted today,
there's a reason why we have more THC. THC is even better being higher.
No,
let me tell you why.
No.
It is more medicinal than CBD. THC is curing cancer, a lot of diseases.
Smoking medicine?
Problem is,
Ivy, let's let Kamau go first.
What I'm saying is,
Yes.
You cannot stop breeding from happening. It's going to happen. Okay?
But we can't legalize something to make
No,
it used more.
you cannot just say
something
just
is
because
happening.
THC is higher now, it's bad. It is higher now because we have people breeding strains continuously. It's a plant. You cannot stop industrialization. You cannot stop.
But we can limit it in terms of the general
You cannot
population
limit. It's a
access.
plant. You cannot
Aya.
limit a plant.
Aya,
A
Yes,
plant
come
will
on.
do what it has to do.
Come on.
You'll get another strain.
Come on.
Unataka 1, 2, 3% THC. Utaipata.
Aya, come
Kuna
on.
strain iko.
There's something you've said. I want to take it to Chibosi. Just because there are car accidents on the road, does that mean we should ban cars?
You know, I actually wanted
That's a
to
good
respond to that because, Kamau, you're actually helping my case. We have very high THC content, and we do not have any policy. We do not have any education.
We don't
We
have.
do not
It is in the world.
have anyone telling us the disadvantages and advantages of etc. And what does that state? It states that Kenyans, it states that government is not ready. Because none of us, I'll pose this question to the crowd later. How many of us know how much THC is good for you? We don't know. I'll pose the question to the crowd. Maybe right now? How many people know how much THC is good to you?
He knows.
All right, wait, before we start, how many people are pro-legalization? Look at all these hands. Thank you. How many people know how much THC is good for you? 1, 2.
Now you are anti-legalization.
Is it
wenye
not?
wanajua.
Is it not the higher it is, the better it is?
And
or
that is the
It's
problem.
better for. It depends.
And you see,
Medicinally, it is better.
Aya.
And recreationally, that's another story.
let's have Chibosi.
and you see,
finish.
that is the problem. We do not know how high THC is good for you. You asked something about alcohol and whether alcohol and weed is the worst. Which one is worse? How many people know how much alcohol you can take? Maybe in your cocktail or whatever. How much alcohol do you have? The percentage for those who drink.
It depends on the person.
It depends on the person, it depends on the drink, it depends on all that. The fact that we cannot sit here and say, for example, in my gin I like 45%, in my whiskey I like 40%, in my beer I like 6%, in my wine I like 12%. That is me with alcohol. And I don't even drink that much.
It's the same thing for cannabis.
And it is the same thing
If
with
you go
cannabis.
to Netherlands, go to a coffee shop.
We have
you
done
decide
that
what you
over
want.
here.
Wait.
With how many people who are for legalization? We've done the same here. Out of all of them, you can see maybe 20 hands. Only 4 people know. And as Ivy said, even one of them is anti-legalization.
But that's a
It's the knowledge, yeah.
I like how you said that, and you don't even drink that much, but you have your percentages correct. In my
Kujitetea
wine,
ni must.
in my wine, I have
So
to
what
get my
happens if
2%.
everyone knows? If everyone knows what percentage to take individually, what happens?
But is it not like Zenora? Is it not like self-regulation where you're like, when I have this, I know I'm good. Like I will just know I'm good, or does it have to be, do we have to take it higher in terms of policy, where we're like, in a country like Kenya, this country that we all love, we can only get marijuana at this percentage for recreation. Is that the line that we should go, or should we allow people to self-regulate?
I think we should allow people to self-regulate. Basically, let adults be adults. And I love what you said. We do not stop people from walking just because they stumble. So we cannot put restrictions on adults just because they can misuse something. You let people be people, right? And what you said most of the people here don't know how much THC is like good for them or their limit or something like that. And that's the problem. The government inakimbilia tu kusema do not use, instead of telling us do not use because of this and this. It's like the same way unaambia, I don't necessarily believe in this story, but the story of Adam and Eve. When you tell somebody do not use this without any reason, then you pull their attention to that thing. It's like when you're told, do not think of an elephant, you will think of an elephant. Even if not immediately, you'll be like, oh, just imagining an elephant, where does this come from? Because somebody told you, do not think of it. The mind starts, there is a thrill in something that's illegal. I've had conversation and hanged out with people who smoke a lot, and most of them, it's not for medication, it's not for recreation. They just said that there's something about just doing something that's illegal, it gives you this thrill. And they usually say, by the way, ata herisi ifanywe illegal because itabo. Ikifanywa illegal itabo. Umeona? So we need to consider all these facts when we're doing all these things. First of all, it pains me so much to know that the most natural plant is the most criminalized, is the most stigmatized. And when they have these stigmas of what wanna smoke, sijui when wazimu, sijui hawajielewi, me, the most coolest people I've met is people who smoke. The most easiest people to start conversations with is people who smoke. Ni ukweli.
Ni ukweli.
Umeona? Na when we are looking at people, we need to know everyone has their own autonomy. Si watu tuseme ilianza na watu wa people should smoke, but there are people who put it in cakes, there are people who put it, people will do with something what they want to do. And when you say our generation didn't have that information and teachings about weed and all, the fault is not on people who taught you or people who you are around. Right now with your age, the fault is yours. Umeona, you should go back. That's actually ignorance on your side. They didn't provide you that information, but did you look for that information? You were told that Africa was a terrible continent back then, but when you look at it, there were so many great people, but what do they tell us? We cannot live with the information we are being given. We also have to go and see where it comes from, what's there beneath, because people give information or stories are being told, everyone tells it with the intention in mind. So if mimi niko hapa sahi sawa, na mimi napenda, I love weed, right? There's no way when I go to somebody and I want them to smoke, I'll start telling them, you know, by the way, there's this effect. No, I'll tell them only stories that relate to why they should smoke or why you shouldn't. And like I said, when you're putting restriction, ambia mtu kwa nini usi mtoto mdogo ati usishike hiyo, usifanye hiyo.
That's the issues, Nora. There's so many positive stories and so many harmless stories that are now being perpetuated, which are more public than actual health effects. Na hapo ndo I think ndo tuko na an issue, because tuseme kama vile mlikuwa mnasema about the percentages of THC, na vile acha tuseme in a medical perspective, right? Tuseme medicinally, hiyo weed yenye wase wanapanda home, or tuseme if weed is legalized, they also allow people, in some places they will allow you to plant weed at home, for example. That weed that you're planting at home can never be the medical cannabis. Why? Let me explain why. Because when it comes to medical THC, it is specifically engineered. What they are giving you as the actual medicine, for example, because kunata pills, zenye ni like THC, only THC pills, but zimepitia like kwa FDA, na zimekwa this itasaidia to this particular part. This is something that literally happens even in the lab. Ikwe specifically engineered, seme like 5% THC, 80% CBD, and then like other additives for that particular health. Mtu tu akienda kuplant bangi yake, haitakuwa the same medicinal weed. And my issue is, if somebody is saying that they want medical weed, fine. However, had this person gone through first traditional methods of medicine for them to go and access weed? If somebody wants to smoke weed for their anxiety, is this somebody who has gone through therapy? If they needed rehab, have they done that? If they needed antidepressants, have they done that? First, things that have actually been proven 100% to work, FDA approved. After they do all that, now remember, the only thing that can work is medical marijuana. They tailor it to somebody's specific thing.
FDA approved. But then, can we go to, we had, in 2020, we had coronavirus.
We had what?
We had corona. COVID-19.
Oh,
yes.
We shall move on, your stuff.
Yeah, we had that. And we had vaccines that came out.
Yeah.
And everyone in the world was preaching about the effectiveness of those particular vaccines. But then there's information that's coming out right now where they're like, by the way, we did not, take this scrutiny as far as we normally go with the normal vaccines that we have.
That one I definitely agree. That one was a big mistake.
Does that not apply to this? Should we not have the same sieve for
The
this?
thing with whatever was happening in COVID-19 and the vaccines that were used, number one, I'll say the biggest mistake that they did was the terms of research was super limited. When it comes to you doing research in terms of anything medicinal and something that is affecting somebody, this is something that should go through years of research. First, you see how it works in people and then start sorting it out. That's one of the biggest mistakes that I could say. But now when it comes to antidepressants, that's something over years. I mean, we can go back so many years, we can go now so many years. Antidepressants have been proven to work. Therapy has been proven to work. And now my thing is, let's say somebody smokes weed for anxiety. It has been proven for some people, it can, for sure, it can lower and reduce and ease your anxiety. But it will only ease your anxiety at the time that you are high. Zikishuka, you can still go back to being anxious. Why? Whatever ilikuwa inakufanya ikue anxious has not been sorted out. If you are being anxious because of loss of a job, if you are being depressed because of grief, if you are being depressed because your mother is sick, for example, when that high itashuka, the situation has not been sorted. So what happens? Rebound anxiety. What happens? Somebody will need to take more of the weed so that they can calm themselves, and that is called what? Tolerance. That is one side when it comes to cannabis use disorder. If
There's
you
something I
don't
want you to
sort
say, because I want you to close this out for us, this prompt. I want you to share, there's a shocking statistic that you shared with us about the number of psychologists we have in the
less
country.
than 200.
For how many are we? Are we 50?
Tuko 50 million. And mind you, those most psychiatrists wako Nairobi. So fikiria mse mwenye ako Homa Bay, sisemi hakuna likuwa se Homa Bay, but nasema outside Nairobi, the number of psychiatrists are even limited to assist Kenyans. The framework that we currently have, we cannot handle any other psychoactive drug to be added. Ata tuseme information. Information is one thing. We have to look at enforcements because, see, like, you know, fertilizers we import fertilizers, we import seeds. We will, kama weed itakuwa legalized, these are still things we will have to import. Kama importation already tuna fail ikikuja kwa vitu vital. How, I mean, it's hope. It is pure hope, hoping that this time the government will not screw up. And patterns, don't lie.
All right, that's proper. I reset, guys. Let's yes. Let me close it down from there. Kamau is here shaking like this. He's like, let me go. Let me talk. It's okay. To the room. Clap once if you feel like we're capable of handling legal marijuana. Okay, clap twice if you don't think we're capable of handling legal marijuana. Oh my God. What's happening? What's going on with this room? Are we switching sides? You guys are doing a good job.